Hmm. There's so much going on in the world, and that's going to continue. And I love our mission statement. I love what we're about. It's a global center for Christ consciousness. It's not a global center for the cool things of life, global center for the Red Rocks of Sedona. Global, no, it's for Christ consciousness because that's the ultimate. That's our remembrance of who we are, and it's our complete awakening. And it doesn't get any better than that. So it's like no settling. And and during a time like this, the times we're in and the personal times, if the world stays the same, just as it is right now, just as weird as it is now, and doesn't get any weirder, there are a lot of people that would rather have that and say, I hope things don't get worse, like economically or pandemics or whatever. It's very interesting to me because on the other side of all this stuff is God. It's us. I mean, we're going home. And it's kind of funny to me because people are like, up on the rocks and, solstice festival, up on the rock with the drumming and Om Mani Padme and Boom Shakalaka and all these like magical incantations and the goddess is coming. And yet they're the first to complain when things are weird. How do you expect to get to the thing you're asking for without looking at the stuff that isn't that? You follow? If you want to get to that light at the end of the tunnel, you got to go through the tunnel. Well, no, can't I just get to the light? No, because there's parts of us that aren't the light at the end of the tunnel yet. We have to absolutely, unwaveringly go to the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm absolutely certain that it's inconvenient. I'm not stupid. I get it. I know it's annoying, but this is the way it is. Try fasting. Oh, I tried that and I got a headache. That's because of the stuff that's in the way of your purity. So you have toxins coming out. Oh, I don't like the toxins, so I'll skip fasting and have another soda or whatever, people do. I know it's inconvenient, but we're going home. And I mean, I've been saying this for so many decades, it's on and on, that this is what's going to happen. And even I sit and go, oh man, that it's unfolding the way it is. Never have we seen political parties hate each other as much as they are now. But see, it was always there. But now it's being seen more. Why? So we can say no to it. Don't say yes to one and no to all of the insanity. Don't just complain about the way institutions are or, the big corporations or big pharma. Don't just complain. That's not going to help. This stuff is going to show on our way home. It's got to. And the greater the light, the darker the shadow. So it contrasts. And yet, evil is fading. It just fights harder to stay alive because it's being proven powerless. Underneath our strange behaviors, the strangest you might see here and there and on the news or whatever, underneath the strangest behaviors of people, it's kind of like the ego is playing out its worst hand through people, making them act insane. So we can say the world's in trouble because everybody's acting insane and make that our affirmation. Or we can say, no. Gee, the insanity is just the fever before a person heals. It's a little uncomfortable. It's feverish. What happens when you have a fever? Sometimes you even hallucinate, right? And that's what people are doing. They're hallucinating about elections and hallucinating about whatever else. It's interesting when we look at things from a state of Christ consciousness, divine, our I am presence, God consciousness. Why did Jesus say some of the things he said that sound so direct, so blunt, like money is the root of all evil? He didn't say that. He said the love of money. Well, why did he even make that comment? That makes us spiritual people push money away from ourselves. We put shame to something like money. So he said the love of money is the root of all evil, but that's not totally accurate. He was saying it for a reason at the moment. It was right in the moment. But at the big picture, The root of all evil is our erroneous belief that we're separate from God. It's not true, but we think it. That's the root of everything that is a problem. So hidden behind it all is the fear of being separate, the notion. Now again, it's impossible to separate from all. I mean, that's simple math. God is all. I'm separate from it. Where can you go to not be in the all? It makes no sense. So just get over that. I can't be separate. But the root to all evil is the belief that we're separate. Remember, evil means a veil, a thin veil between reality and illusion. So the root to all veils, right? The root, it's just a veil. Just move the veil and you're there again. But the ego doesn't want us knowing that. So the root of all evil is really the belief, the false belief that we're separate from God. Then what comes from that is feeling guilty and afraid that we are separate. We feel guilty for separating from love, from God. But then what's worse is we then said we need to be punished for what we've done. Now, we didn't say God. We used to just go to God because we were one with God. There's no going. We're just in God, and we would know what to do next. When we separated, we no longer had the knowing of what to do. So we had to ask, hey, anybody have a better idea? We're feeling guilt. Someone back in the back of the room went, I think we should punish ourselves. And we went, okay, because we didn't listen to any real answer. We listened to an aggressive one. We should punish ourselves. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. And then, anybody have ideas on how to do that? We should feel tremendous lack all the time. Health is going to lack, money's going to lack, something's got to lack. That way we're paying long-term payments on our debt to God. See, long-term payments, because when you get back home and you approach the light at the end of the tunnel, God's going to be like, like mom or dad waiting. The street lights have been off for an hour. Where have you been? And it's going to be like, separate. Oh, well, that was really great. Separating from me, the I am all that is. And you separated. How dare you? I know, mom, dad, God. I know, but guess what? I've punished myself for billions of years. So if you just look at my Akashic records, you'll see how much suffering I've gone through. So now I am worthy to come home. Now God's going to have a hard time to tell you this, but you never left. So that weird thing you were doing, that was weird. That was really weird. You thought you left. You punished yourself to make up for leaving, which you didn't do. So you just manufactured this whole self-abusive thing. And we're going to be like, now I feel worse. I'm going back. No, we won't go back and do it again. That's the great news. But how sad. I mean, it really is sad that these children of God feared their light more than their darkness. We actually thought it was a better idea to suffer than just to take responsibility. And guys, you know what? We have this thought, this notion, because we created an ego that said, if I were you, I wouldn't talk to your mom right now. You've done some horrible things. Stay away from your mom and dad, God, right now. That's what we were convinced to do. Because God's enormous being, it's going to have an enormous punishment for you doing this. But we didn't ask God that. We just asked ourselves, and the self we're asking is not our real self. So if it's not a real self, it's a false self. And if it's a false self, it only has false answers, suggestions, solutions, false ones. So it builds this whole thing, this whole system, ecosystem, on the notion you're separate. You've done this. It's a bad thing. Now you have to suffer. And the suffering is money is the root of all evil, meaning compensation or trying to compensate for lack. If you're separate from God, you now lack God. So you now need to go out and compensate. You have to go and take or make or pull to you. You have to grab. And that's where Buddha's concept of attachments are the root of all evil. So it's really true. It's not, the real root is separation from God, but the real root to our coping mechanisms is money. Well, no, Michael, war, power, they all only do wars and powers because of money. Oh, big pharma, that's one of the evils. What do you think they're doing? Making money. And it's amazing because they're finding people, not just sick people. That's only the symptom. They're finding people who feel a lack. The lack creates an illness, a manufactured illness. And they even try to do it preemptively. If you ever are old, they have these ads. Do you have hair or not? There could be a problem. You should take this. It's amazing. But they're selling you. They're making money. Why are they lying and making money? Because that's their addiction. Our addiction, everybody's, is to feel separate. And now I have to compensate. It's not just a drink. It's any form of compensation. Stuff. I've got to accumulate to fill the void that cannot be filled. You know why it can't be filled? Because it isn't there. Which is why you have to fill it twice and 3 times and never ending. Because you never got in touch with the real problem. Wait. Because the mother's saying, my beloved, you are my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. Really? Yes. Then what does that mean? You are the living Christ. Real? Wow. You are a holy child of God. This is sounding great. You are made in God's image. And so it is. Done. You can't have any, except there's 10% missing. God in its wholeness, nothing missing. So I have nothing to compensate. And therefore, I am not attached to my coping mechanism, which can be people, drugs, whatever it happens to be. Codependence is, which is a false form of love, is the ultimate, addiction. Not everybody drinks, but everybody's codependent. Because everybody believes that they're seeing other people out there, and some of them I don't like and some of them I do. I especially like the ones that make me feel better. Feel better how? They seem to fill a void. I'm not feeling attractive. They said I'm attractive. Wow, I like that person. You see, it's all just codependent. In reality, as I remember who I really am, I need nothing. I just feel complete. And then I can choose to share a moment with this person this way, this person with that way. It just varies. It doesn't matter because I'm feeling complete. And our cup runneth over. So I have so much of God's presence. I can look at others and say, wow, you look great today, or you just seem like such a nice person, or whatever things to help others feel better. Not ego stroking. It's coming from my cup runneth over. So I'm looking from God's eyes, saying, by the way, do you realize how valuable you are? And you have to weigh what you're feeling to say with the appropriateness of the moment. You tried at a party to do it another way, I'm seeing your divinity, the new age parties in Sedona. My essence really feels your essence, just a new way of saying, I want to be with you. So to really, really match the inspiration with the appropriateness of the moment. Sometimes, I just feel so much love. I just, wow, I'm going to burst. And so I love to say, I love you to people. I love to say that to friends, but then there's times when it doesn't seem appropriate. It does happen in this world that somebody, mistakes. Can you imagine getting pulled over for a traffic ticket? Officer, I love you. You're still getting a ticket. Oh, no. I didn't mean to get out of a ticket. I meant, from me to you. Well, good. Sign your commitment to your love right here. So this world doesn't favor the way of God. It just doesn't. To be able to say, I love you, I think it's just the most beautiful thing. But what's more important than saying it is feeling it. What's more important than feeling it is knowing it. I don't just sometimes feel it. I know I am in the image of God, which is love, and so are you. So how could I not completely love you? And how I share that with my children would be different than someone else's children. How I share that with my partner versus somebody else's, and so on. Of course, it's a little different to each his own. But to really always know in the core of my being, there is this absolute love. And if I can be in touch with the abundance of God here, the prosperity of God here, I will also connect with the wealth of God here, meaning the lower chakras, meaning the material world. There should be this ecosystem. It's only because of unhealed wounds and judgments along the way, meaning descending into our being, that throws it off and doesn't allow the richness of God to enter our lives. It would be impossible to be sick and completely one with God. But we believe we're separate. And you do have these companies that are going to try to make money, because those, like big pharma, as they call it, those companies are just more afraid than you are. You're afraid when you think you need meds to fix your body that you're afraid of owning. So fear is behind it. But this company, they're more afraid than you are. How do I know that? Because they can't make enough money. They need more every year. So they have to feed your fear to buy more stuff from them so they can go, look at money, money, money. But then they're going to go, but it's not enough. The board of trustees gets together and say, we want that line going up. They're never going to go, you know what? I think we've taken enough. Let's release a paper that says you're not as sick as you thought and you don't have to buy any more meds. You know, that would be like, hallelujah. So people run around in a panic. The ego, because that's the ego. It's the ego's not only saying you're separate, you're afraid, you're guilty, and you need to be punished. It starts telling you the best thing you can do to punish yourself, mind you, is live in lack. And I'm so here for you, the ego says, that I'm going to help you fill that void. There is no void. It's lying. So it can't actually be doing any good for you, but we think it is. Thank God for the ego, because now it gave me something to fill my needs. But it didn't tell you don't have any. Just like Big Pharma's not going to say you don't need the meds. That's all deception, and it feeds itself. So the children of God, that's why we use that word remembering. We're not so much going into a place of learning about God and love and oneness, and we're just remembering by peeling layers off. So I have to not just forgive pharma for keep selling me things. Do that if that's in your life. Forgive. And take the meds for now. Don't judge that either. Do your best, forgive the rest. That's all. Do your best, forgive the rest. You say, well, I'm not, you know what? Somebody told me headaches are from this, so I'm taking aspirin. Then you say, you know what? I'm not going to take aspirin anymore. Oh, and you got a headache. God didn't say, don't take aspirin. I want you to live in pain. God said, I want you to be at peace. You mean headache? I don't care about headaches. I don't have a headache. Never had one, God says. So what are you asking me about headaches? Okay, what do I do then? I just want you to feel peace. If you have total peace, everything else will fall away, you'll see. But people don't remember how to ask for a state of consciousness of God. Peace, love, joy, oneness. Ask for that instead of cashola. Get the consciousness of God and the rest will come. But we don't need to shame taking an aspirin or making money, because none of it matters. It's just a signpost, a reflection of me. If I'm lacking health, wealth, wisdom, whatever it happens to be, it's showing me, that's showing me a sign that I still believe I'm separate, but I'm not. So I'm giving this onto the altar of the mother. She takes it and replaces it with more love and self-worth. And then the good karma brings prosperity and health and other things. So it's really do your best, forgive the rest. Do your best to be healthy, live in balance. Do some head and neck exercises so you lessen the number of headaches you might get. Do your best. But if you still have a headache and take an aspirin, forgive it. This is not about we think we're in a new thought, new age spirituality. But if we're still shaming ourselves for having to take an aspirin, you're still doing old religion. You call it new thought, but it's still the old religion. We sit in softer chairs instead of hard wooden pews. And the churches, they're so often warm because it's just getting used to hell. It's true. Might as well get used to it. I get tears from that one. And so compensate. And we live in this compensatory kind of way, lifestyle. And in that, we live with anxiety and depression, emotionally. But there's help, because the companies will sell you something for the depression and anxiety. not a solution. Just masks. And then when the whole world started wearing masks, that's kind of funny. I mean, seriously. One day, mankind, not too long from now, all of this is going to tip over into another dimension that we'll be living in, but not without looking at our third dimensional stuff thoroughly enough. But there'll be a point when we look back and we go, hey, dude, remember the masks? Wasn't that a great metaphor? And we all walked around like, like Darth Vader. And like that was normal somehow. And to feel better, some of us put painted smile faces on the masks. There, it's not so bad. But it's kind of funny. We're going to look back at that. Why did we wear those? Oh, safety. Safety from what? A virus. What are those? These invisible. If they're invisible, why are we afraid of them? Because the ego told us that there's this thing, it'll kill you, and on and on. And I'm not telling you any politics about masks or no masks. I'm just saying one day we'll look back and laugh at it. But we'll also look back and laugh about all the arguments we had, rights and wrongs. Hey, remember when we argued and got a divorce? Yeah, remember. Oh, that was kind of nutty. Why did we do that? I don't know. I should have never married you in the first place. No. I mean, but, if you're so weird, why did I marry you? I mean, I complained about you later, but why did I marry you? I must have been insane to marry what I called an insane person later. Why did I not see that? Well, you snuck in under the radar. I didn't see the real you. You're completely knowing and all intuitive. You didn't want to know. See, why? Because you're wanting to punish yourself, for feeling separation. So your partner signed on to be your mirror of separation. And vice versa, of course. It's always reciprocated. So it might sound kind of counterproductive, counterintuitive, but there are solutions to this thing. I feel separate. I feel all kinds of things, fear, guilt, and I'm going to need to be punished. And you can be, well, I don't have that state of consciousness. I'm very prosperous and wealthy, but you're going to get sick and die. And that's still a belief that death, the Old Testament tells us, the wages of sin are death, meaning because you are a flawed being, you will die. So Jesus says, well, since I don't believe that, watch. He dies and resurrects to prove that death is an illusion. And if death's an illusion, so is the cause of death, which is sin. And the ultimate sin is the belief we're separate. So by coming back to life, he proved you can't be separate. It's not true. Your ultimate payment for being limited beings is death. And I just proved to you it's an illusion. And some people, even New Thought people, they think it didn't happen. He didn't really resurrect. If that didn't happen, then we're up creek. Because it means that sin is still real. Oh, I don't believe in that. I don't care what you believe. There's a deeper belief that it is real, or else we wouldn't be here. Why would God, an unlimited being, create beings in its image, unlimited beings that are limited? It doesn't make any sense. Someone screwed this up. Someone changed the rules and started saying, well, God unlimited, I'm unlimited, but yet I'm limited. So something went wrong, and it wasn't in God. Something went wrong in the middle, in our beliefs. We took on the beliefs in separation, guilt, and all such. And then the belief that we need to be punished. And I know that's a stretch for spiritual people to take that on, because we're like, oh no, I just believe in positive thinking. Michael's talking about guilt and punishment, and it sounds negative. You even not liking me saying that is you, again, punishing yourself. Why are you listening to this? You're punishing yourself listening to a talk you don't like. So change channels. Go watch some positive, spiritual Mr. Rogers or whatever, and bliss bunny out. But you're still going to find yourself in a world of terror. And the only way out is to remember who we really are. And the only way you can start moving in that direction is to own who you're not. You can't pretend it isn't happening. You got to own who you're not to know who you are. Don't commiserate and dwell on who you're not. Just own it. Laugh at it now and then. As spiritual and awakened as I am, it's so funny. It's just like, wow, I can just, do cyclical breath and trance out and chakras start to open. What a bummer. I have to go to the bathroom. Cursing that. It's just always something. dang kids, I'm trying to meditate. You kids won't be quiet. And they're deep down on a soul level, like, we are so testing you. It's what is really happening. The tests, they're all me. And I'm going home. No matter what we talk about here, the news, anyone, anywhere, grocery stores, no matter what people do and what they say and the stuff going on in the world, we are going home to a place we never left. But to get there, all that is not home has to show itself. Why? Because, it's just fun? No, it isn't. Why do we have to see it? To forgive it, to get over it, to say, that's how it did look, but that's not the truth. Now, some people are out there saying, we talked about this last week a bit, but some people are out there saying, and the way you do that is just positive think yourself out of those old patterns. If you can change the way your dynamic of thought process, and you can change your emotions, you'll change your life, which is true to a degree. But some of these people are talking and they never use the word God in their talks. Because you can only fix yourself so much. I don't care how eloquent, how articulate, how scientific, how wonderful their stories sound, which are better than the old stories. It's nice. A new science, we can call it generally. But beyond that, there's God. Why aren't we including God in that? So it really comes back to, it's not just deepening my awareness of who I am and more positive in my subconscious self. It's really not. It's going to my completely conscious self, God, to get all this done right. We're trying to edge out the mother, the Holy Spirit of God. She knows where all our stuff is. Let's include her instead of going, no, I got it figured out. All I have to do is this technique I was shown to show where I have weak spots. And then I just stand on one foot and roll my eyes and chant something 3 times and it changes it. Really? Let me watch you do that right now and repeat. Let your word be home, home, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, home. And if you ascend, I swear I'll start teaching your stuff. I'm watching. You said 3 repeats and it changes. Do that. Do that. No longer human. Let me see that. Go ahead. It's not going to happen because they're still relying on the human that thinks it's separate from God to fix them. You can put down big pharma, but the positive thinkers are just another medicine. That's all. It's good if you can just plug God into it. And even pharmaceuticals could become holy if you could plug God into it to say, how would you have me see my medicine? And God would say, here's how I want you to see it. Take it a little longer and don't judge it. And you'll find that the illness behind it is gone. And then you won't need it. Well, no, they told me it's for life. Did you want my opinion or did you want their opinion? Go to God. That's what we've got to do. We've got to get back to God. How would you have me see this? And it's not, well, God says organic only. God's like, well, you don't get it. Chamomile is just as much an illusion as, insulin. Oh, that can't be. Yes, everything here is a dream. But can I get from a nightmare to a happy dream? Yes, I can. How? Practicing to forgive myself for all these other strange things. So all those who, the love of money, the love of power is the root of all. It's the root of our compensatory behaviors. The love of money, not enough. I can't have enough money. So we pull, take, accumulate, and it's never enough. I mean, can't we see that in corporations? If these people that say they have hundreds of billions of dollars, wow, how can you even think in terms of mine? My mind works this way. When I have money for whatever, I do a workshop and they hand me some cash, my mind goes into who I can give that to. Now, some people tell me, Michael, that's lack of consciousness. You're rejecting the money. No, I'm not. I still got a quesadilla out of it. I went and treated myself, and had a soda or whatever I'm having. I feel great. And then I also tip the server and I do, giving. So what we've got to do to turn around this whole erroneous thing that we are separate, therefore we lack, therefore we have to compensate by grabbing medicines or whatever else it is in this world, money included. We turn it around and we say, no, I have to do two things only: heal the past and create a new life. Heal the past. Are you willing to look at your old beliefs about money? Some of us have been monks, priests, nuns in previous lives, and we walk around with this program that it's evil to have money. And so we live in squalor, or really, poverty in some way. Well, we're supposed to have, and then you see lots of symbols of misuse of money. Look at the power hungry and the big corporations and so on. So we say, I don't want to be like that, but then you're rejecting prosperity. So you're somewhere in the non-committal. I don't want money, yet I don't want to not have money. And that's us, many of the spiritual people. We have to say, you know what? Those are all my opinions and they're based on the past, and I was wrong. I was wrong to believe any programming that money is the root of all evil. And I went, oh, I'd never want money then. No, that's a contract I made and I'm done with it. What I want is God. And God, even to a three-dimensional level, will manifest his abundance, because God is love and abundance. But abundance of what? Anything. Love, peace, joy, prosperity, health. It can be anything and everything. Seek first the kingdom, the consciousness of God, and everything else is there. So one of the things we've got to work on our old patterns and wounds programs. We've got to heal those. But we also have to change and have new ones. And one of the primary new patterns is a word called generosity, which is like from the word generate, to create. So if I'm generous, I'm a creator. I generate. See? Somebody says, oh, I have $10 billion. That's very cool. And what do you do with it? That's going to be the difference between miser, which comes from the word miserable, versus generous, a generator, a creator. Are you a miser, miserable, or are you a generator? Right. What do you do? What do you do with the money? What do you do with when you have warmth, when you have genius, what do you do with anything? In Buddhism, some traditions of Buddhism, it's not what people thought, that you're not supposed to have money. Buddha said, oh, shave your head, wear a robe, and don't have any money. 1 grain of rice a day or whatever. That's not what that was about. Buddha was actually saying, if you have money, you must have had good karma, because they believe in karma. You must have had good karma from another life. So we suggest that you use it wisely. Generous. Be generous. And if your gift is not money and it's an amazing smile, when you smile, you just light up a room. Start lighting up some rooms. If it's your personal warmth presence, bring it to a room. I mean, what are we doing? If our light is a smile or money or whatever, share that light. So the world tells us, and the ego had this brilliant idea, because it has these ego-based, ingenious moments, which are not very genius at all. So the ego said, you know what? You're separate, you're guilty, you're needing to pay it off, you're going to feel now you need to compensate. So grab, do all that. That's what the ego teaches us. But it's interesting, because it doesn't tell us it doesn't work. It just tells us to keep going, keep trying. And we do lifetime after lifetime trying to grab. I need more love. I need another relationship. I need, all that coming from that lack place. But really, the mother is saying you don't lack anything. So the solution is to say goodbye to the old programs and welcome in the new. What would the new programs be? I have to think about this. Give me some examples of the new programming and I'll decide. See, but then you're still in control and you're the one that screwed yourself up. So it may not be the best guide here. Why not just say, I don't know. God, you show me. God then shows us our completeness, and then, believe it or not, it doesn't show you just money coming to you or some other, relations coming to you. It shows us through what's something called a feeling of our completeness. And then you start feeling so good, so powerful, so empowered, so complete, that the world's stuff says, I got to be around you, man. I want to hang out with you. Stuff starts magnetizing towards you. Generosity brings more to us. When you start being generous, you attract the spirit of generosity, which is really Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, the mother. But you attract kindness when you're kind. Let generosity move in and live with you. Let it become this is how I live. I know it seems counterintuitive because, again, people go, now wait, I'm taught that if I give, I don't have. That's the ego instructing you. Don't give anything because then you won't have it. And then you're going to be back to lack, which is a punishment for fear and separation and guilt. So I wouldn't go there if I were you. Okay, so just accumulate. And it doesn't work. So what do? Start giving. But I'm programmed. If I give, I don't have. That's because of an old program. And I know that sounds logical. The ego is always logical, but not rational. Because the ego never lets you look back from this view. It's just from this one. If I give you it, I don't have it. Back up and go, oh, wait a minute. Oh my God. Every time I've ever in this world, in this universe, in time, in all time, never have I given that it didn't come back. And more so. So the ego wants to keep us in separation and keep us in fear and keep us in limited lack consciousness. It doesn't want us to know. Do all your positive thinking techniques, leave God out, and you'll be okay. It doesn't want you to look at the big picture and go, wait, I just realized we've been talking positive thinking for years and nobody's talking about God anymore. Edging God out, the acronym for ego. Just always finding a way to just edge God out, just slice it out a little bit. Do it slowly enough and nobody notices. It's nice what we're doing at the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. This thing that we're all committed to awakening the inner Christ. Even if that's not the wording you would use, you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be listening, watching. Even if you don't like what you're hearing, you wouldn't be hearing it if some part of you didn't really want to get it and go home now. Not run away, but go home, meaning in here, in consciousness. And it's by us going home in consciousness and anchoring that presence here, we're going to need to do that for the world, guys. We already need to do that for the world. Somebody's got to be sane. We have to show up and be that example. And it's very tempting to go, well, we need to, just try to be a little better, a little happier, and so on. The whole world is watching us. Anyone on earth that is wanting to make a difference and that is trying to anchor the presence of God, everybody's watching them. And the ego in people is going to rear up more and more every year exponentially and get to a very aggressive place towards us. Well, we're just trying to be all Christy. Why don't they be nicer? Because they're us purging out. They're the darkness in us that's being purged out. So don't hate them for what they do and say. See them as another thing that needs forgiven. And so this world is going to push the envelope to say, you can't really forgive everything, can you? And it'll find where you can't. Then you'll go back into feeling guilty about that and back into this world again. Instead, forgive yourself for not forgiving. See, can't lose. Even when I fail to forgive, I'm just going to forgive myself. The ego will not know what to do with that kind of person. Wait a minute. I'm telling you failed at forgiveness. I know, and I'm forgiving myself for it. No, you can't do that. Let me look at the book. Guilt, shame. There's a lot of feelings you should be feeling. Regret. Whatever your weak spot happens to be. And then you sink. So sink for a moment. And then forgive yourself as soon as you can. And this world that we manufactured as a place to go and hang out to avoid our holiness will be made holy again. It's already happening. But there's a lot of tears that have to be cried on our way back to that complete remembrance. And that's kind of, it's beyond sad to think that we would put ourselves through such turmoil to simply come to wow, I am a holy child of God. I mean, can't we just go, bliss bunny ourselves into that and kind of, let's all just chant, with the angels and we're all one with God. I have this thought that's been coming to me. There's a lot about the upcoming future and people keep asking me, so I'm going to do a presentation on that soon, very soon. It'll be free. I'm just going to, do that for everybody and share what more and more is coming. But please remember, one of the things to change is generosity. I'm not ever telling you to give more energy or money or time than you can afford. Never would I tell you that. I'm saying, first of all, recognize you can afford more than you think. And when you see that, you'll realize, wow, I had one extra smile in me before I went home. I thought I'm going home and I didn't have any time to smile at anybody. And it might be somebody on the road. Just smile. And who cares if they go, honey, an insane person just smiled at me from another car. Who cares? Let them get over that. Just smile if that's one of your inspirations. Let people get across the crosswalk and give them space, and let people cut in when they need to cut in, and whatever is called upon. But generosity. See, being a part of our leadership here, it's challenging for me to say, be generous. Give to your place, because that's the tradition. Give to your place of spiritual food. So I kind of go, well, so many people have twisted that I generally hesitate to ask and say, guys, tithe and be generous. One of you has a family that attends a church I won't name out there in the world. There's one of these traditional churches, and they every service they make over $100,000 in donations, every service, and they do 4 or 5 a day every Sunday. And it's like, so it's interesting, but this is Michael, I don't want us to be associated with the misuse of money stuff. So then I kind of polarize to the other end and not talk too much money too often so that we're not confused with that. But then I learned that even if we don't bring it up often, if I bring it up once, like I remember a few months ago, I said, guys, I've sold out of several of the books I've written. It's a good problem to have, right? To be an author that sells out. So we sold out of books. That's great. Problem is, printing company said we're doubling the cost of printing. But I'm not going to charge double the cost for my books. So I said, we're going to go up like $2 or $3. Somebody wrote in, oh, you jerk. I knew it. You're greedy like everybody else. And it's like, wow, that's the other voice. So thank you for showing me that. Because even when we've gone without charging, someone's going to complain about it. And you gave me permission to come here, the middle. I don't need to charge $30 for a $15 or $20 book just to make money. And I also don't need to lose money. One of my books that I publish is a larger book, and it was $22 a book to print it. And it was only a $20 book. So years and years and years, I'm like, I got to do something about that someday. Do you think that lady that complained knew that or cared and said, thank you for your generosity? No. When people are broken, they're going to come from broken minds. Don't take on their silliness. So it's finally we reprinted, made the book 25 so I could make $3 a book. Oh, you're greedy. Well, okay, whatever. But please remember this, generosity. Please support this spiritual center for all that that's okay. It's okay. Please support this spiritual center. And if this place you only come to once a month, that's fine. What place do you go? What author? If you only read books to learn spiritually, then feed that author. Send them a check once in a while. Say hello. Say thank you. People that have dedicated their lives to spirituality need to be thanked. Not need as in there's a lack. It's they deserve your gratitude. If you were ever a good mom or dad, you deserve to be thanked. And if your kids don't do it, I'm doing it. Because not all parents have been nice. So thank you if you've ever been a good mom or dad. Thank you if you've ever been a good employee. Thank you to my team members who have ever been great team members. People that are good deserve to be heard, thank you. Right? It seems so natural. All human beings need to be thanked in here. I'm so sorry, the stuff we go through. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Bring the holy mind to people that don't act or think very holy sometimes. But those who do, geez, Louise, thank them. Give a portion of your income too. Be more dedicated. Here you can be a sponsor of a program like our AV so we can pay for our musicians to be here and be more generous to give them more, whatever category you want, or just generally. Give. We have our Christmas program starting now. You're welcome to leave some cash in the office so that we can accumulate it. We're going to go at the holidays and give it out to people. Generosity, it's huge. It brings more. And again, it's smiles, it's anything and everything you can bring. I can't afford anything. That's a really sad affirmation. It's not affirming anything. But that's a really sad state of mind. But Michael, you don't know what I've been through. I'm already exhausted. I do hear you. And so what I would do is spend the rest of this year in rehab. Spend in convalescing the rest of this year. Cry, hold, oh my, everybody's taken from me. I've been divorced 10 times and they all hated me and took from me. You know, half of my teeth have fallen out because the dentist ruined gave me the wrong medication and all the stuff of life. You deserve to be heard. Cry, let someone hold you, let someone hear you, but make a determination at some point, I'm going to be different. Starting January 1st, get over it, teeth. That's it. I don't care if I'm a toothless fool. I'm going to be praising God. I'm going to be thanking for life and God and joy and peace. I'm going to be smiling with my no teeth. I'll still be smiling. And the rumor, there'll be, do you ever see that guy in Sedona walks around, smiles at everybody who's got no teeth? But he smiles at everybody. Isn't he warm? I've seen him help people to their cars that can't walk very well. Be that person. But definitely to your place of spiritual food. That's your way of saying, here, God, thank you. Because God doesn't need the cash itself. It's not like there's a holy store that God's got to go shopping at in heaven, at the Heaven Mall. But God says, you know what? Do be nice to children and also give to people where and when you can. In the tradition, it was actually said widows and children, orphans. Help people out. You know, where can you help? Even if you mean to and it doesn't get to materialize. You can say, I'd like to open an orphanage for children. I love that idea. And the world might not let you do it because they want you to do it their way. You can't just say, we're just going to have this God experience. The children are going to be empowered and loved and so, no. We want to make sure they do this and you feed them this and and they have rules so you might say, no, I get it. But I love that you thought of it. You're creating some form of Eden on earth. The world is looking for it, longing for it, needing it, wanting it, because all we ever really want is God. We think it's other stuff. It's just God. So share what you can. Get rid of extraneous stuff. Okay? Get rid of stuff you don't need. If you have extra houses, sell them. Sell them and then give from the proceeds. Extra cars. How many boats do you need? You live in Arizona. I can haul it over to a lake and then we do like a tailgating party and beer and get over that too. Like, get back to God. I am going to commit, starting very soon, maybe the first of the year or sooner, I'm going to commit one full day to prayer every month. And I'm the world needs this. And I'm going to invite the world, man, and just say, come on, once a month. The world is going to get weirder. We need to get back to God. And that's a joyous, it's not a sad, it's a joyous thing. All of mankind needs this. Will they all join in? I don't know or care. That's their business. But while I'm here, I've got to do good. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to dedicate a day a month and say, like the first Sunday of every month, prayer, prayer, prayer. Not prayer like positive thinking to get more stuff, but it includes that. Safety, to be healthy, to be present for people that are suffering. People are going to become more afraid in this world. This is the time. Everybody knows this, from Nostradamus to the Catholics. Everybody knows it. All the predictions have been there all along, and the time has finally come where the old world is collapsing. You want to help with it? Heal the old, forgive, and develop generosity. Give all that you can. I'm very sad for people, but I'm very glad at the light at the end of the tunnel. If I'm doing a prayer day with people 24/7 or whatever we're doing, if I'm doing, it's not going to be, oh, Lord, save us from, it's going to be whatever prayers a person feels right with. But God, and I would be beyond happy to know that I've done one more thing to make God a first priority. It's all that matters anyway. It's all that's real. But does that mean you should become monks and nuns again and abstain from everything? Not necessarily. You might do more good. You might do more good doing that. Go in the Himalayas, sit in a cave and pray, chant for the world to find the oneness. Good. Or a monastery. Or you could be wealthy and still be the same good, just a different form. How can I be this presence today? How can I, and that's where I'm at, man. I'm just like, I live my life like this, but I'm in the middle of transitioning to saying even more now. Even more. Not obsessive, not fear-based, not monkish, more joyously. There is a part of me that's sad to see what people are and are going to go through, but what they are going through and what they're going to go. There's more of that coming. You know, I'm sad to see the hatred that's propagated in politics and so many areas of life. But I see that in the tunnel, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And so I feel this like, oh my God, the joy of being in God's presence, the joy of feeling oneness, the joy of feeling certainty that all is okay. We're all going home. We're already home, but we're all getting over this nightmare that we thought was our reality, which is a lowercase r, back to the real thing, back to God. So grateful. So the prayers that we would share on a regular basis, sometimes they are going to be the humanistic, help us, whatever people want to say, but it's also the affirmation. Because even those who know changes are coming, and even those that believe in prayer, in churches and wherever they are, to pray about the problem is still not fully Christ consciousness. Can we pray and affirm that despite the way things look and feel, here is the truth of God? And there will be people that will say to you, is that what you believe? You're not allowed to have a flight ticket today. You think it was weird when they said you can't take a flight without a certificate about shots. I'm telling you, the world is going to get to a place, your beliefs are going to prevent you from receiving things from this world. That's the ultimate revenge of the ego. We'll see if you can hold the Christy stuff while you don't have a flight today. Oh, but I've got to see my grandchildren. No, get over it. You're one with your grandchildren. They won't let you on the flight. Don't betray your God. Don't betray yourself. Stay faithful. Tithe regularly. Give generously. Don't give up. Stay within knowing who you are and give where you can, how you can. But I'm not just talking about a lecture like on giving. I'm telling everyone here, this is the new consciousness. Don't tell me you want to go to the fifth dimension and you don't know how to give. The fifth dimension is earned by having a generous consciousness. You don't go to the fifth dimension with 3D limiting consciousness. The 3D is a limited mind. When you free yourself from limitations, you're out of the 3D to the fifth dimension. So let's just go. Okay, I'm ready. No, you're not. Start giving. Oh, I can't. I'm not giving anything. It's mine. I earned it. Sorry. Just over here. We have some beautiful parting gifts. Tell them what we have for them, Sam. Well, we have some more hell on earth and, but the fifth dimensional people, oh God. And it won't be people under any particular religion. It'll even people that thought they were atheists, but they were real and they were generous and they trusted in something called love. And they're going to make it there before the so-called spiritual people that can't give because they're still afraid. Fear keeps you bound. Forgiveness frees you. Please take a few centering breaths. First, soak in gratitude. Just gratitude. I have a spiritual family, even if I'm watching from afar and even if I've only been here once. We're still your spiritual family. God says so, so we are. You don't need a blood test to prove it. We're all family. And I'm grateful that we're here. The I that I'm speaking of is each of us. I feel grateful that we're here with each other. Thank you all so much in my mind, in my soul. And grateful for what I heard today. Any of it that made sense, just soak it up. He's talking about a personal commitment he is making. No, wait, but he's me. So he's a calling for me to step up to a new level, whatever it is for you, your spiritual path, your connection with God, but let's get it. Feel your heart and your mind opening. Abundantly feeling God's presence in our upper three centers. Just by calling it in. And feeling that abundant presence flow down into our hearts, which then swell up. Fullness, generosity, love, humanitarianism, oneness. God, you ignite my heart and you help me to see and know reality. And that presence descending down into my lower three centers, igniting my life, health, wealth. I can experience spontaneous healing. I can win the lottery. But I also give. What good does it do for me to be healthy and not use my body to help someone lift something? To have a healthy body and not use it to smile or hug? What purpose is wealth if it's not to share it? Fullness, God, head to toe, front to back, side to side, inside out, complete. Father, Mother, God, hear our dedication. Hear the words of this prayer like they're coming from your soul. Dear God, during my time on earth, because I believed in you, I began to open my heart. Because I believed in you, I became more kind and forgiving. Because I believed in you, I took greater care of my total well-being. Because I believed in you, I chose to release harmful thoughts, opinions, and addictions. Because I believed in you, I began letting go of past guilt, shame, and regret. Because I believed in you, I began letting go of unhealthy patterns and relationships. Because I believed in you, I did what I could to be of service to others and to make a positive difference in the world. And God, I just want to say that even if you do not exist, because I believed in you, I have become a better person to myself and others. What this means, God, is that even if you don't exist, I have become a better person by believing in you. I have become your living presence on earth. God, I have become the God in whom I once merely just believed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Thank you. So how interesting. Because I believed in God, I changed my life. And even if God doesn't exist, I've become more like the God I only once believed in. Does that make sense? See? I did all these things because I merely believed. Now I know. And I've become that thing that I once believed in. I've become it, which means there is a God. Because I've become the living presence of that God. So nobody can really say there isn't if we act like that thing. God, generosity, love, healing, peace. That's who we really are. And I'm very grateful. That prayer, it just came to me once during one of our services. You know how I do that. And I just said it, but one of our attendees liked it so much they typed it up and then reminded me about it. And I'm like, wow, when did I say that? They're like, well, it was years ago and I typed it. And I loved it. We just kind of touched it up for grammar and all that, punctuation. But we'll publish that online for everybody and you can share it wherever. All right. A couple centering breaths. Make sure you're feeling grounded in the room. Good. We're going to take up our collection and do our closing prayer. Please be as generous as you can, always. Online, there's a button you can click to donate there. Here we have our blue bags. Share what you can. And the baskets. Those are just any extra donations you can give for any special projects and all that. For example, if you were donating towards the fund for us to give funds to people, you would put it in the basket. Or if it's for whatever else. And we purchased some new heaters for outside for the winter. It's pretty cool. We could heat the North Pole with those. So we're going to make sure you folks are comfortable. Why? Because you deserve it. Our prosperity prayer. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Yes. Can anyone share what you heard or learned today that might be important for you and make a difference in your life or with others in your life? Yes.
I want to thank you for something because generosity, some people get triggered by money itself.
Yeah.
But if we smile, it lifts our spirits, it lifts them, and it costs us nothing.
That's right. Anything you give is not only good karma. Remember, I said you got to heal the old patterns and create new, right? Some of the old patterns, believe it or not, karmic debts that we believe in. Give and you pay that off. There's times when let's say I sell something to somebody at a festival. They buy several of my books. Let's pretend they forgot to pay. So there's $100 we lost. Well, I look at it and think, somewhere out there, if there's a debt I owed, let it plug that hole. That's what I think of. I mean, you can't lose money. You can't lose anything. It's, old stuff that we believe in. So pay that off, be done. It's okay. So giving also cancels out old karmic beliefs and debts. All right? Yes.
Oh, you said I don't need to take a blood test to be part of the spiritual family.
Right, thank you. You don't have to take a blood test to prove you're part of God's family. Please stand for a closing prayer. Should be feeling good. Remember, part of what I said today, get a greater commitment to God as your source, your guide. Get a direct connection with God. And yes, give and tithe to the places where you learn about God, but get your daily communion with God prayer. Start that. It's a free download. Like so many things we do. It's a free download on my website. Daily communion exercise. Just download it, take it, use it. Plug into God day and night. Create a greater commitment to cleaning up your own life. Be it addictions, be it old belief systems. God, self, others. And so with others, become more generous. More God, more healthy self, and more generosity towards others. Please consider that trifecta commitment. Holding this in our hearts, feeling that gratitude. Permanent changes in our consciousness and our being. Yes. Imagine ahead of time. Imagine right now in advance all the great ways that the abundance of God, the prosperity in your heart, and the grounded generosity, all three parts of our being, the Trinity in us, is now going into the world different. It doesn't matter. Just, sure, give some more money. Good. Smiles at the store when you go out today. Give $5 extra to the server at the restaurant. It can only come back to you. Give what you can afford, not more, but give what you can afford. Don't underestimate your smile and your love for people. If all you give is prayer, it's good. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. God bless you all. Thank you for your time today.